Believers of Miracles. Name is Don Winkler, and for those keeping track using the complimentary bulletins this morning, I am not Tony. I guess in theory, Tony and I are one in spirit, but physically, we will be doing separate messages. The great news is, we love doing this so much, we will be doing the same message both services. Okay, today I am honored to present my first sermon, and I am grateful to share this experience with each one of you who was guided to be here today. As I look around and see the beauty that fills this sacred space, I am reminded that everywhere we go, God is indeed present. Each month, when I pray with members of our church community, I never cease to be amazed by the power of prayer. Prayer is so important that it is mentioned in the Bible 512 times. Luke 18, verse 1 describes the importance of prayer by saying, "Then Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and never give up." The longer I serve as a prayer chaplain, the more evident it becomes that the thoughts we have greatly impacts the reality we experience. Abraham Lincoln was quoted as saying, "Most people are about as happy about life as they make up their minds to be." William James once said, "The greatest discovery of my generations is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind." My message today will include 3 stories that demonstrate the miraculous powers of thought when it is influenced by focus on the heart, opposed to the ego-driven mind. The Serenity Prayer tells us to accept things we do not have the ability to change, and to change the things we are empowered to change, while having the wisdom to know the difference. Looking back to July of 1998, I can recall 3 life-changing events which demonstrated the power of focusing on changing what one was empowered to change. While I was living in Hawaii, I was invited by the Red Cross to provide mental health support to those who were impacted by a major flood in Cambridge, Ohio. I joyfully accepted the opportunity to serve others who were experiencing a major challenge in their life. During the second day of feeling the presence of God, I assist individuals who were while working at a service center. And during this time, I met the director, and she asked me if I had a son named Ben. Proudly smiling, I said, "Yes, indeed, I do. He's 8 years old and living in Honolulu, Hawaii." And at this point, she invited me to join her in her office. Her face was kind of solemn, and I said, "Well, this is an interesting thing. What's going to happen?" Well, when she called me in her office, what she shared was that Ben had been involved in a significant accident in which he was riding his bicycle, and he was riding the bicycle, he collided head-on with a car. In the process of this, the impact of his head hitting the windshield caused the windshield to crack. Fortunately, through the powers of God and miracles that we all are fully aware of, when he went to the hospital, the doctors were amazed to see that he did not have any permanent injuries. Every injury he sustained was one they could quickly repair in a matter of hours. But before I knew this information, I was very concerned, obviously, and so I asked permission to use the telephone. This is before the days of these funny things called cell phones. And so I was very grateful she had a working telephone. But in the process of talking to Ben on the phone, he told me, he said, "Dad, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I was very scared when this happened. I was very grateful people were there to help me. And I'm very grateful that you're talking on the phone." And I said, "Ben, I think maybe I need to leave this disaster relief that was scheduled to be here for 10 days, and it's probably best I come home." He said, "No, Dad, that's not where you need to be right now. These individuals are far worse off than I am. I'm in good hands. You were called to help them." This is an 8-year-old child saying this. After talking to Ben on the phone, I spoke to the director, and she said, "Don, we would love to have you here for 10 days. We need your assistance, but we know family is very important, and if you leave tomorrow, we can arrange for you to have a flight. And there'll be no consequence of that, because obviously this is a very unique circumstance." And I looked her straight in the eye and I said, "Look, I appreciate the opportunity you give me. However, my son said, this is the place I am destined to be right now, and I've got a mission to serve." Norman Vincent Peale was quoted as saying, "In every difficult situation is potential value. Believe this, then begin looking for it." I was receptive to discovering the good that might possibly come from the flood in Ohio. The next day, I discovered what Ben had already known when he told me he wanted me to help those who required more assistance than he did. I met a middle-aged woman who was crying, and I could see she was experiencing tremendous grief as she described how her mobile home and all of her physical possessions got destroyed by the flood. Moments later, I noticed her tears slowly begin to stop and be replaced by a smile on her face. I became curious as to what was occurring, as I soon discovered the reason for the abrupt change of emotions. The woman shared that every night for the past 6 months she had been praying from the heart for God to comfort her son and help him to stop using drugs and drifting away from her. The woman then shared that the day after the flood, she and her son were reunited in a local shelter. And when they saw each other, they embraced in a way they had not done in months. The storm had served as a wake-up call for her son to realize that life was not forever, and to appreciate the love his mother had for him. The mother received the answer to her prayers and was more than willing to sacrifice her physical possessions for what she treasured the most in her life. Later that day, I traveled with a support team to visit a remote location that had been impacted by the flood. While walking around a neighborhood, I met a gentleman who described how the flood had destroyed the entire neighborhood, and all of his physical possessions were lost. The man then said, prior to the flood, the neighbors rarely interacted with each other and showed very little concern for each other's well-being. After the flood, the man said he felt blessed that the neighbors were so quick to share what little they had to assist each other in a time of need. The man said it took a disaster for the neighborhood to come together as one in a special way they had never experienced before in their lives. Romans 8, verses 28 says, "And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them." The loving woman reminded me that yes, the power of love is greater than any adversity one may face. This woman demonstrated the use of the Serenity Prayer by focusing on the love of her son and a renewed relationship, opposed to the loss of her home and possessions which she had no direct control over. Ben knew that I was at the right place at the right time. Ben expressed his appreciation of being protected during his accident by thinking from the heart, which was filled with love, opposed to his fear-based ego, when he requested that I remain to help others versus being with him. The gentleman who lived in the flood-ravaged neighborhood witnessed firsthand the power of love in action when neighbors joined together to assist each other. As you take a moment and reflect on these stories that were introduced by thoughts of love opposed to fear, I invite you to listen to the words from Jeremiah 29, verse 11, to see how the scripture reminds us that during times of despair, God has a much bigger plan for all of us to prevail and to become stronger from the experience. "For I know the plans I have for you," said the Lord. "They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope." Brothers and sisters, God has a plan for each one of us to experience unlimited potential to heal and to grow with each breath we take. We have the free will choice to be held captive by thoughts of lack and despair, or freed with thoughts of hope and unlimited potential to continue growing. Take a moment each day to reflect on all the good in your lives and know that the source where it came from is waiting to surround you with even more to remind you of the unlimited potential each one of us has to grow. I will now close my message by sharing some powerful words contained in a song written by Ricky Byers Beckworth that reminds us of our unlimited potential to continue healing and growing. "I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God." Namaste.
Good morning. Good morning. For those of you that don't know me, I am the light of the world, but you can call me Tony. I wish I'd used a bigger font. everybody out here smiling this morning. So I went to the Bible. What does the Bible have to say about smiling? Nothing.